Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host as always on Around the Horn, Ray Flowers. Braun, he's been a bit of a disappointment this year for fantasy owners. Hasn't lived up to that top 10 profile he had at the start of the season, and now things might have gotten a little bit worse. The past couple of weeks, Braun was hitting .386, finally leaving behind the doldrums of a pretty rough stretch right before that, but now he's got an injury to his wrist. They've run some tests. It doesn't look like there's anything catastrophic wrong. There's no talk of surgery at this point. There is a little bit of talk of disabled list, and the reason for that is Braun at this point can't even swing a bat. He's got some issues. It looks like at a minimum he's going to be out for a couple of days. The club is hopeful that he will be able to remain active and not go on the disabled list, but keep a very close eye on this situation because it looks like the slugger from Milwaukee might need more than a couple of days off to rest that injured wrist. Mike Gonzalez. What's going on with Mike Gonzalez? Well, he's finally back with the Orioles. It's been a really tough season for him. He signed a big 2-year deal with them for a lot of money in the offseason to be their closer. He struggled, was injured, went to the minors. He's finally back. Two runs allowed in 9 appearances. Alfredo Simon, who's been handling the 9th inning, has looked really spotty of late. So the Orioles said, we're going to go to a committee. If I had to pick one name of that group, I'm going Mike Gonzalez. If he's available on waivers in your mixed league, you should probably pick him up. But one fact does bear mentioning here on Around the Horn at BaseballGuys.com, and that is that apparently Mike Gonzalez has been placed on waivers. Now this happens a lot. It happens to most players, quite honestly. The majority of them do get placed on waivers at some point. But if a team were to claim Mike Gonzalez, which seems very likely given his ability to help out at the bullpen with that left-handed power arm, could the Orioles just let him go? They very well might say, hey team, we don't even need a player in return. You just take him, you take on that salary, we don't want it next year. That's a possibility. So keep that in mind before you heavily invest in Gonzalez. Though like I said, for me, he's the best bet for saves right now in that Orioles bullpen. Another player who's been placed on waivers and might be switching teams, we think, is Jose Guillen. Now, we don't know if he's actually been placed on waivers because that stuff's kept private, but the idea is that he will be if he hasn't been already. 2 teams in the NL West have a lot of interest, and those are the Dodgers and the Giants. Why they would really want Guillen at this point is a little bit of a mystery. He started out terrifically well. However, he's been awful of late. Since the start of June, 27 games played, he's hitting .175 with only 2 home runs. He's a cancer in the clubhouse. He probably wouldn't be going to be a full-time player with either one of these clubs, which obviously I wouldn't think would make him very happy given his often surly nature. A little bit of an odd move. The Dodgers apparently don't think Manny Ramirez is coming back at any point soon because they already picked up Podsednik, so it's a bit weird that they would also be interested in Guillen. And over with the Giants, they've already got Guillen. They've got Pat Burrell. Burrell's been hitting pretty well of late. Seems like an odd move for both teams, but they're both still kicking the tires on the talented, though enigmatic outfielder / DH of the Royals. Brandon Morrow, I mentioned this recently on BaseballGuys.com in my piece on Monday. He had 17 strikeouts, looked terrific. Had a complete game 1 hitter, was spectacular, but he threw 137 pitches in that inning. Like I suggested in that column, the Blue Jays did the smart thing. They decided to push back his next start. He's probably going to go next Tuesday. So those of you that were looking in a weekly league, had set him up, had him in your lineup for this week, you're in a little bit of trouble, but he should be fine. He should be back in that rotation and going next Tuesday. Just a bit of time off to make sure nothing's wrong with that young power arm of the Jays. Mike Leake, now things are going in a different direction for Mike Leake. He was really strong at the start of the year, and he has really, really tailed off of late and had a rough go of it the last 3 times on the hill. The Reds haven't said they're removing him from the rotation at this point, but it does look like that's something they're seriously considering. Homer Bailey has been in the minors. He is apparently healthy at this point. He might come up to the big league club and take over Leake's spot in the rotation. Aaron Harang has also improved to the point where he's going to start throwing in the minor leagues as well. He's getting close to a return. So it looks like Mike Leake, the youngster who skipped the minor leagues, the pressure, that's probably not the issue. That's not what's going on here. It's the fact that he's thrown a lot of innings. Big league innings a lot different than college as well. So they're probably going to be very careful with him. They may shut him down. They might pull him back. They may leave him in the rotation. But of those 3 options, that's probably the least likely one to occur. Rich Harden, another player, a pitcher who will have his next start pushed back. With Harden, whether it's injury or poor performance, we're not quite clear. The Rangers do have other options in that rotation. They could go to Derek Holland, who's in the minor leagues right now, who's their best prospect in the minors. Harden just hasn't been able to get it done. He continues to walk people, doesn't throw strikes, runs up the pitch counts, can't go deep into games. Rich Harden, yeah, AL only leaguers, you got to hold on. Mixed leaguers, probably a good time to cut bait with him. Gil Meche, hopes to return this year. He's got a shoulder issue. The doctor told him, look, if we have surgery here, you're out all of next season, and potentially your career could be over. So he decided to put that on hold. He's given up the hope of being a starting pitcher this year. He wants to return. He threw 30 pitches in a simulated game, hoping that he can get back to the point where he can contribute out of the bullpen. Whether or not he's a starter or reliever next year, or whether he even pitches next year, is still in doubt, but he's trying to get back to the hill to give a little something to the Royals for that big money investment they made in him at the end of the 2010 season. And then finally, Nyjer Morgan. Nyjer Morgan, the speedster, has got an issue with his hip. He ran some tests on the issue. An MRI picked up something that doesn't quite look right. It doesn't look like it's a big structural thing or something that's going to require surgery, but the team is going to monitor it. They basically said, look, it's going to be a pain tolerance thing. If Morgan can handle the pain, he will play. If he can't, he won't. At this point, you have to think that his ability to steal bases is going to be severely curtailed. If you've been counting on him to do that, it's probably time to go in another direction, because these last 50 games of the season don't figure to see an explosion of stolen bases from the outfielder of the Nationals. Again, I'm Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for listening to me today and joining me here on Around the Horn, and I'll talk to you all again soon. And don't forget to listen to myself and Kyle Elfrank every day on XM Sirius Radio. We're at XM 147, Sirius 211, 5 to 8, Monday through Thursday, and then 8 to 12 on Sunday nights, all those times being Eastern, for the Fanball Fantasy Drive.